She made the world laugh, right up until the very end. When the news broke that Diane Keaton had passed away at 79, Hollywood didn't just lose an actress, it lost a heartbeat of humor, honesty, and eccentric charm. Friends say she was funny right up until the end, still cracking jokes, still seeing the world through her signature offbeat lens. But behind that smile and those oversized hats was a woman who lived life on her own terms, quietly, freely, and without apology. She didn't chase fame. She didn't crave attention. She chased authenticity and found it. What the world saw on screen was only half the story. The other half? That was the private, peaceful life she built far away from the cameras, surrounded by her dog, her children, and the rare people who truly knew her. But to understand why Diane Keaton's goodbye feels so personal to millions, you have to go back to what made her so unforgettable in the first place. The news hit Hollywood like a quiet earthquake. On October 11th, Diane Keaton, the woman whose laughter had filled movie theaters for over 5 decades, was gone. 79 years old, gone too soon, and somehow, the world felt dimmer overnight. Her family released a short statement asking for privacy during a moment of great sadness, and no further details were shared. But they didn't need to say much. The silence spoke louder than words. Within hours, tributes poured in from across the globe. Fans posted favorite scenes from Annie Hall and Something's Gotta Give, while fellow stars shared stories that felt less like memories and more like love letters. Social media feeds turned into digital scrapbooks, a collage of laughter, hats, glasses, and that unmistakable Diane grin. Hashtags like "Fuck you, thank you, Diane," and "Touch Forever Annie Hall" began trending worldwide. It wasn't just grief. It was gratitude. For a woman who never tried to be perfect, only real. For an actress who made vulnerability fashionable, who made awkwardness beautiful. And even in death, Diane Keaton somehow managed to do what she always did best: make people stop, smile, and remember what it means to truly live. In her final days, Diane Keaton lived exactly the way she always wanted: quietly, freely, and surrounded by the things that truly mattered. Friends say she was funny right up until the end, still cracking jokes, still turning even the simplest moments into something worth remembering. She didn't spend her time chasing cameras or headlines. She spent it at home, in the warm California sunlight, with her beloved golden retriever Reggie by her side. Those who knew her best say her humor never faded, even as her world grew smaller. She had a close circle of friends, a handful of people who understood that Diane didn't need attention to feel alive. One friend told people that she had a very strong sense of who she was and how she wanted to live. And that meant peace, simplicity, and love, not the constant noise of Hollywood. Her last Instagram post, shared months before her passing, said everything without a single word. It was a photo of Reggie, posted on National Pet Day, a small tribute that captured the heart of who Diane was. No glamour, no filters, no flash. Just a woman and her dog, content in each other's company. Those close to her say she'd laugh over old photos, quote her favorite movies, and tease friends for being too serious. Even in her late 70s, she carried that same sparkle, a mix of wit, warmth, and mischief that never left her eyes. To the world, she was an icon. To those around her, she was just Diane, a woman who lived life like a quiet joke she was still laughing at. And that's exactly how she wanted it. The tributes began pouring in before the headlines even had time to settle. From co-stars, directors, and lifelong friends, everyone had a Diane story. But the one that stood out came from Bette Midler, her First Wives Club co-star and partner in chaos on one of Hollywood's most beloved comedies. Midler wrote, "She was hilarious, a complete original and completely without guile, or any of the competitiveness one would have expected from such a star." Then she added the words that perfectly captured Diane's spirit. "What you saw was who she was. Hola, la. That authenticity was her superpower. In a world where so many stars built masks, Diane refused to wear one, unless it was for a joke. Friends say she never played the Hollywood game. She didn't gossip, didn't compete, didn't chase awards or social approval. She celebrated other people's wins, laughed at her own mistakes, and moved on with grace. That's why her friendships lasted decades. Real, loyal, unshaken by fame. Her colleagues describe her sets as joyful and unpredictable. She'd show up in her iconic hats, crack a joke that no one saw coming, and instantly light up the room. Actors half her age looked up to her not just for her talent, but for her freedom. That rare ability to be serious about the work, without ever taking herself too seriously. Even those who met her only once said the same thing. Diane had this uncanny way of making you feel like you'd known her for years. She'd remember your name, your laugh, your story, and then she'd tell a better one. In an industry obsessed with reinvention, she remained herself, the same witty, weird, and wonderful woman the world first fell in love with. Her friends say that was her quiet gift, to make every room warmer, every silence funnier, and every friendship last a lifetime. Before Diane Keaton became a legend, she was just a young woman from Los Angeles with a strange laugh, a fearless spirit, and a dream big enough to shake Hollywood. Her rise wasn't built on image or scandal. It was built on authenticity. In an industry obsessed with perfection, Diane showed up as herself, and that changed everything. Her first breakthrough came in The Godfather in 1972, where she played Kay Adams, the quiet yet commanding woman who saw both the love and the darkness inside Michael Corleone. It wasn't a flashy role, but it was unforgettable. The world noticed her. Francis Ford Coppola noticed her. And suddenly, that quirky young actress with wide eyes and nervous energy was standing alongside Hollywood's giants. But it was Annie Hall in 1977 that made Diane Keaton immortal. The role wasn't just a character, it was a mirror. La-di-da, la-di-da became a cultural echo, and her offbeat charm, loose mannerisms, and unapologetic awkwardness redefined what it meant to be a leading lady. For that performance, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. But more importantly, she won something else, the world's heart. And then there was the fashion. Diane didn't just wear clothes. She started revolutions with them. Oversized blazers, vests, wide ties, and baggy trousers, things no one expected to see on a glamorous actress, suddenly became the look of confidence and individuality. It wasn't a costume, it was her. She made different cool, and in doing so, gave a generation permission to be themselves. Every studio wanted her, every director admired her. But Diane never chased fame. She chased feeling. She turned scripts into stories, characters into reflections, and simple lines into truths. By the late 70s, Diane Keaton wasn't just another star, she was a symbol. A woman who proved you didn't need to fit in to shine. And from that point on, Hollywood never looked the same. Diane Keaton's career was built not on luck, but on connection. The kind of rare creative partnerships that define decades of cinema. From her early collaborations with Woody Allen to her long friendship and work with writer-director Nancy Meyers, Diane didn't just star in great movies, she shaped them. She was the heartbeat, the human touch, the chaos and charm that made every scene come alive. With Woody Allen, she crafted some of her most iconic performances, from Play It Again, Sam, to Annie Hall. Their partnership wasn't just professional, it was a meeting of minds. Diane brought warmth to his neurotic worlds, humor to his melancholy, and authenticity to his dialogue. Annie Hall wasn't just written for her, it was her. The title character's name even came from her real-life nickname, Annie. That blend of truth and fiction made the film timeless and turned Keaton into the symbol of a new kind of woman in film. Flawed, funny, self-aware, and unashamed. But Diane didn't stop there. In the late 80s, she found another creative soulmate in Nancy Meyers. Together, they reinvented the romantic comedy for a new generation. From Baby Boom to Father of the Bride and its sequel, their movies turned motherhood, work, and midlife chaos into stories filled with laughter and tenderness. And then came Something's Gotta Give in 2003. The role that brought Diane back to the Oscar stage, decades after Annie Hall, as Erica Barry, the witty, heartbroken playwright opposite Jack Nicholson. She proved once again that love, heartbreak, and humor don't fade with age, they deepen. Through all these collaborations, one thing never changed: Diane's ability to make every story feel alive. Directors loved her unpredictability. Co-stars admired her bravery. She never played a stereotype. She broke them. Her characters were women with flaws, fire, and feeling. Women who didn't apologize for being complex. Even beyond her films, her influence rippled through Hollywood. In the way actresses dressed, spoke, and carried themselves. She made it okay to be quirky, to be independent, to laugh at yourself. Diane Keaton didn't just act in great stories. She helped rewrite what women in film could be. And that, more than any award, became her greatest legacy. In her later years, Diane Keaton stepped away from the spotlight the same way she'd always lived. Gracefully, without fanfare, and on her own terms. Fame had never defined her, and in the last decade of her life, she made that clearer than ever. While Hollywood continued to call, she chose peace over pressure, simplicity over spectacle. Her days became slower, softer, and more deliberate, filled with family, creativity, and quiet joy. She spent much of her time at home in California, a place she described as her sanctuary. Her house was her art piece, filled with vintage furniture, old photographs, and walls lined with books. Every corner had a story. She loved designing, collecting, and finding beauty in imperfection. Architecture fascinated her as much as acting ever had. Friends say she could talk about bricks and beams with the same passion she once gave to film scripts. Her children, Dexter and Duke, were her proudest accomplishment. Diane adopted both as a single mother, and in her later years, they became her entire world. She often said motherhood had changed her more than Hollywood ever could. Photos from her final years show her smiling beside them. No red carpet, no filters, just a mother who'd found her real home. Still, Diane never stopped working entirely. In 2024, she returned for what would become her final roles in Arthur's Whiskey and Summer Camp, two films that perfectly captured her enduring charm and playful energy. Even at 79, she brought the same spark, the same mischievous twinkle that made audiences fall in love with her decades earlier. When she wasn't acting, she wrote books, took photographs, and shared snippets of her life online. A laugh here, a dog photo there, nothing curated, everything real. Her last Instagram post, a simple tribute to her dog Reggie, said more about her than any award speech could. It was pure Diane, warm, funny, and full of love for life's smallest joys. In those quiet years, she didn't fade, she evolved. She became softer, funnier, and more reflective. While other stars chased youth, Diane embraced time. She wore her age like one of her signature hats, proudly, uniquely, and without apology. Her later years weren't about endings. They were about presence, about savoring life exactly as it was. And maybe that's what made her so unforgettable. Even when she stopped trying to be seen. Diane Keaton's legacy isn't just written in film history. It's written in the hearts of the people she made laugh, think, and feel. She was more than an actress. She was a mood, a movement, a reminder that being yourself is the most powerful thing you can ever be. From her oversized hats to her unapologetic laugh, she redefined what it meant to be a woman in Hollywood. Bold, brilliant, and beautifully imperfect. She broke every rule the industry quietly enforced. In her 20s, she refused to play by the pretty girl standard. In her 40s, she refused to disappear. And in her 70s, she refused to slow down. She proved that charm has no age limit, that awkwardness can be magnetic, and that confidence doesn't come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from owning exactly who you are. Her influence stretches far beyond the screen. Every actress who's ever dared to dress differently, speak honestly, or laugh at herself owes a quiet nod to Diane Keaton. She made individuality fashionable. She made intelligence romantic. She made aging aspirational. And she did it all without ever losing her sense of humor. Friends say she had a gift, the rare ability to make ordinary moments feel cinematic. A walk with her dog, a cup of coffee, a random conversation. She turned them into stories worth remembering. That was her real artistry. She didn't need a camera to make life beautiful. She just needed to be in it. Today, her films remain timeless, but her spirit feels even larger, like an invisible thread connecting generations of dreamers, misfits, and free souls. And maybe that's the truest part of her legacy. Diane Keaton didn't just show us how to act, she showed us how to be. As her friends said, she was funny right up until the end. But the truth is, Diane's laughter doesn't really have an ending. It echoes through her movies, her words, her children, and everyone who ever saw a little bit of themselves in her. She taught the world that you don't have to shine like everyone else. You just have to shine like you. And that's how Diane Keaton will be remembered. Laughing, living, and absolutely unforgettable.